Greetings, Culturians. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have to focus in on the marvelous Marvel and the fact that it's falling apart. Of course, we've got extensive coverage of Marvel's issues over the last few weeks if you look at the previous videos, but this is something that's even more telling. You see, Marvel's full of something I would call hollow hype, and that's where we are. So, here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, we are aiming for 50K subscribers. Now, the only way we can get there is with your help, so double check that you're still subscribed to the channel. If the little button's red, turn it to gray and turn on all notifications. If you're one of the 40%, let this be the day that you actually subscribe, because it'll help me immensely, it will help you in the long term, and I'll give you plenty of entertainment and information each and every day. On that note, let's jump into a story from our friends over at Cosmic Book News. That's right, William Harrigan is the new writer over there, brand new to this particular outlet, saying Avengers Doomsday, Channing Tatum teases mind-blowing film, addresses Reynolds and Gambit. Well, let's address this from the very beginning. There's been a lot of reports about some instability inside the production of Avengers Doomsday, and while a lot of it's verified, including a bunch of reshoots on material that had been shot for about 3 weeks, having to be reshot all over again, there's also been some strange things, only confirmed by a few people, that there was some kind of a conflict between Ryan Reynolds and RDJ. Well, it seems like there was a conflict on the set, but it wasn't between those two because Ryan Reynolds claimed he'd never been to that particular set. Well, there's a lot of nuance and language here we could certainly dive into and parse, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here to talk about the hollow hype that this particular production is getting. So, let's read what Will has to say. Channing Tatum confirmed to return as Gambit in Avengers Doomsday, told Variety that Ryan Reynolds never stepped foot on the set yet. Well, there's your party line for you, and for now, I'll take their word for it, at least that particular set. We'll get to that another time, but the remark echoes Reynolds' own recent comments where he laughed off questions about his involvement in the movie, which we already know was there, so it's just not publicly disclosed yet because they still have about 33 more characters to reveal, supposedly. Now, when I say the word supposedly, I mean it that way. They are not telling us the truth about this particular production, but I wouldn't expect them to, and neither would you. They're trying to keep a lot of elements very secretive, and they probably should, because everything I know about this and the books from where they're extracting their material are not going to be very fan-friendly if you've been around comics or these films for a long time. You're not going to like what's coming. But here's what else is being done. You see, people working in this particular film, they're hyping it. Like Tatum also hyped the scale of the project, saying Avengers Doomsday will blow people's minds, and perhaps he's only speaking about the fact that there are so many players here. I mean, when was the last time we saw 60 plus cameos in a movie? It seems like that's all MCU does now, is cameo the movie. And that doesn't seem to help, because not only does it give us no character development, no opportunity to connect with any of these characters, but it also just seems like a mindless mess with very little story. Of course, a bigger part of the story is the fact that they are going to soften Gambit's accent, because originally it was done for laughs in Deadpool and Wolverine. And look, that's definitely something that can be done, but why are these particular directors, because we have the Russo brothers here, wanting to continue with the same style of humor? Do they think that is what sells Marvel films? I can demonstrably say it doesn't. Softening Gambit's accent. So last week, Tatum also revealed he's adjusting Gambit's Cajun accent as the character transitions from Deadpool and Wolverine into an MCU Avengers Doomsday. A running joke in Deadpool and Wolverine was that nobody could understand Gambit's thick accent, with Deadpool cracking, "Who's your dialect coach? The Minions?" And to be fair, it's a good joke. Break of a fourth wall, something that Deadpool is allowed to do, but not something that would be appropriate, or at least that humor isn't appropriate inside of another film franchise. Well, Avengers is supposed to be pretty serious. We're supposed to get occasional humorous jokes to alleviate some tension, but we're not supposed to get silliness like this. This is Deadpool's shtick, and he should probably shtick to it, if you know what I mean. So Tatum explained to Variety that the accent won't be as thick. Well, we wouldn't have expected it to be because it was unintelligible. And that was done with intention, because I'm not going to go full Cajun. The Russo brothers want things to be funny, but they don't want to go full Deadpool. They want to keep the drama and keep it tight. When Gambit gets serious, when he drops the Mardi Gras mask, things do matter. And with that, I would agree. I would say that Gambit's never been done properly in a film outside of the fan film here on YouTube, but they really need to do better with this character and give us a good representation, because fans like me have been looking for that for years. Tatum previously told Access Hollywood that the unintelligible accent in Deadpool and Wolverine was intentional. And I mentioned that before, a couple minutes ago, but there was very little improv. The Cajun dialect is a very particular one. I grew up in Mississippi and my dad is from New Orleans, so it's one of those things that I grew up around, but I've never done it. There are certain little isms that are very Cajun-y, but we actually intended it to be somewhat unintelligible. That was sort of the joke. Well, it was a joke, and it was certainly a joke to people who knew what you were doing intentionally, because people who have heard Cajun accents are probably a little discombobulated, thinking that that's not even Cajun, but it is what it is, and the film overall was quite successful. Said specifically that Reynolds played into the gag on set. He would say something like, I don't want to know anything that you're saying on this take. So I just dialed it all the way up. And then other ones, he's like, all right, I've got to understand what you're saying now. So it was kind of a flame on, flame off moment. And who else but Channing Tatum would understand that kind of nuanced humor, right? So as Doomsday is in production amidst a whole lot of setbacks and a lot of negative information coming off the set, the film is still fixed with a December 18, 2026 release date. I still think that's too soon. I think they may have to push it back, but at this point, does it feel like there's any momentum here? No. In fact, it feels like a lot of hollow hype, but at this point, it's audience participation time, so let me know. Do you think that Channing Tatum is just running interference for a production that's struggling? Do you think that you've felt a lot of hollow hype in advance of a film that is not probably going to make its deadline? Do you feel like the promotion of Spider-Man Brand New Day is actually a way to kind of promote what's going on with the larger Marvel model? And finally, how disappointed are you going to be when all of this is tilted into the Feige female frame and we end up with another female-centered film after all of the previous failures? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. And as always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya! Probably not at the Doomsday movie.